Hello, welcome to the Tsukiji Hongwanji English Buddha Dharma service. Given the COVID-19 pandemic in Japan and the rest of the world, I'm talking to you from the study of Tozenji Buddhist temple, which I run as a resident minister, Jushoku, in Yokohama. Before I begin my talk, I suggest that you take a look at the two-page handout as attached to the video. I think that will help you to better understand the teaching of Jodo Shinshu and Buddha Dharma. The topic I have chosen for Dharma talk this year is, what is Shinjin? Well, Shinjin is a Japanese word that is usually translated as entrusting heart in English. So let's take a look at the page 1, the number 1, Shinjin as Buddha's mind. Shinjin is usually interpreted as one's believing in supernatural being, such as God in Christianity. But according to Shinran, the founder of Jodo Shinshu, which is Shin Buddhism, which is called Shin Buddhism in the West, Shinjin, according to Shinran, means the true, real, and sincere mind and heart. In Japanese, it's called Makoto no Kokoro, and it refers to the mind and heart of Tathagata or Amida Buddha. Tathagata is a Sanskrit word which is called Nyorai in Japanese. So Shinjin, according to Shinran, is Buddha's mind, not the mind of sentient beings like us. The next, sentient beings possess only a defiled mind, which is tainted with the blind passion, as represented by a so-called three poisons: greed, anger, hatred, and ignorance. In Buddhism, sentient beings are not just human beings, but all living creatures are included in that. Sentient beings can be called unenlightened beings, in other words. All of us are included in sentient beings. We have only a defiled mind, false, vain, which is tainted with the blind passion. Blind passion means bonno in Japanese. There are plenty of blind passions, but that is represented by what we call three poisons. As I just mentioned, they are greed, anger, and ignorance. Ignorance, in other words, is folly or foolishness. Ignorant of the truth of life and universe. That is what that means. The next one, the contents of Shinjin, the great wisdom of Buddha. The wisdom of Buddha is to see things as they really are. In Japanese, ari no mama ni miru. And another content of Shinjin is the boundless compassion of Buddha, which saves all sentient beings unconditionally. So that is what the content of Shinjins are all about. The next one, number 2, who is Amida Buddha? Amida Buddha is the object of worship in Jodo Shinshu. Amida, which is the transliteration of a Sanskrit word Amita into Chinese, which means infinite or immeasurable. Amida is derived from 2 Sanskrit words, that is Amitabha and Amitayusu. Amita, as I've just mentioned, means immeasurable. Abha means light in Sanskrit. And Amitayusu, again, Amita is immeasurable. Ayus means life. So Amida means the immeasurable light, which symbolizes the wisdom of Buddha, and the immeasurable life, which symbolizes the compassion of Buddha, respectively. The next one, Amida Buddha is not a historical Buddha. The only historical Buddha in the history of Buddhism is Shakyamuni Buddha. So Amida is not a historical Buddha, but a personified form of the working of wisdom and compassion in the ultimate reality that historical Buddha Shakyamuni awakened to in his enlightenment. Buddha in Buddhism means awakened one. Awakened to what? Awakened to the truth of life and universe. That is what historical Buddha Shakyamuni awakened to. Amida Buddha is the personified form of the working of Buddha's wisdom and compassion. What is the ultimate reality in the teaching of Buddha? That is the next one. The ultimate reality on the life and universe in the awakening of the Buddha is twofold. First, the law of impermanence. In the world in which we live, all beings and phenomena are subject to constant changes. All beings and phenomena are constantly changing, and nothing remains unchanged, even for a single moment. Given the law of impermanence, when things are going extremely well in our life, we cannot afford to, or we must be careful not to be too optimistic because things are constantly changing in our life. On the other hand, when things go badly in our life, we do not have to be too pessimistic about the problems we have because things are constantly changing. We are living in tough times. COVID-19 pandemic, well, we have health problems, financial problems, family problems. These kind of problems come one after another in our life. But even if you are depressed in such tough times, say, for example, losing job, serious health problems, I'm talking to you, particularly young people, but even in such tough times, do not commit suicide, okay? As things are constantly changing. Things can be better in your life. The next truth of reality is interdependence on page number 2. This is a key word in our understanding the teaching of Buddha. That is, all beings are interconnected with each other, interrelated to each other, and interdependent on each other. Nothing can exist independently of others. In other words, there is no inherent existence in the world in which we live. Given the law of impermanence and the law of interdependence. This is a very basic teaching of Buddha. In Mahayana Buddhism, this truth is called emptiness, ku in Japanese. So we have to bear in mind the two truths, as I have just mentioned, that is impermanence and interdependence. Now let's talk on Shinjin, item number 3. Shinjin as entrusting heart. The working of the wisdom and compassion of Buddha to save all sentient beings is described as the primal vow of Amida Buddha in the Sutra of the Buddha of Immeasurable Life, specifically. The Sutra of the Buddha of Immeasurable Life is often called the larger sutra in our tradition. So Shinjin is the characteristic of the mind and heart of a person who entrusts himself or herself to the primal vow of Amida. Well, Shinjin is not something which is cultivated nor developed. It's not the self-generated mind, because Shinjin is given by Amida Buddha to us as a gift. Shinjin is given by Amida Buddha in the form of the name Namo Amida Butsu. So all we have to do is to just receive and accept the Shinjin from Amida Buddha, free of doubt. The next one, when Shinjin is thus received and accepted, the defiled mind of foolish being and the pure mind of Buddha become one. Even if the two completely opposite minds become one, however, our defiled mind, which is filled with blind passion, as I mentioned earlier, does not disappear completely. So that then the question arises, then what will happen once we have received the true Shinshu real mind from Buddha? The final one, number 4, realizing Shinjin. Leaving the defiled mind of foolish being as it is, the great wisdom of Buddha transforms such defiled mind into the good mind of Buddha. Transform, tenzuru in Japanese. The defiled mind of sentient being does not disappear. Leaving the defiled mind of foolish being as it is, Buddha transforms such defiled mind into the good mind. It's somewhat complicated. Shinran explains such an experience in one of his poems, Wasan, or many places of his writings. It's like streams of rivers. Once they enter into the vast ocean of the primal world of Amida, they become one taste, one salty taste with the ocean water of wisdom. That's a metaphor for us to better understand what the Shinjin realization is all about, according to Shinran's writings. So what will happen after we realize Shinjin? That is the great wisdom of Amida Buddha enable us to have much deeper insight into the true nature of ourselves and find that we are nothing but evil. We are nothing but egoistic beings, self-centered beings. But at the same time, such evil beings are grasped, never abandoned by the boundless compassion of Amida Buddha to save all sentient beings unconditionally. So these two types of feelings are quite opposite to each other. The final one, upon realizing the Shinjin of other power means the working of the primal power of Amida, which is called other power, Tariki in Jodo Shinshu. Working of the primal power of Amida. We can live positively in this world, even the worlds are quite tough for us. Being embraced by the great compassion of Amida with a simultaneous experience of both shamefulness, that is, we are nothing but evil beings. We feel shameful for that. But at the same time, such an evil being like us is a target of salvation by Amida Buddha. That brings us a feeling of gratitude and joy. So this is the core of Shinjin in Jodo Shinshu. Before I close my talk, with the term Shinjin, there are some translation issues. The English translation of the term Shinjin. One of the reasons why I put Shinjin, a Japanese word, as it is, in the title of my talk is that in the collected works of Shinran, which is published by the Hongwanji International Center, Shinjin, the term Shinjin is Romanized and put Shinjin as it is in the English translation of all of Shinran's writings. The reason for that is because if we ever translate the term Shinjin into faith in English, that might cause confusion or misunderstanding of the teaching of Jodo Shinshu. The fundamental difference between faith and Shinjin is that faith is based on the dualistic relationship between God and man. That relationship is mutually exclusive from each other because man cannot become a Buddha, a God. So in that type of relationship, what man can do is to just believe in God, believe in Jesus Christ as God in Christianity. On the other hand, Shinjin in Jodo Shinshu is based on the non-dualistic relationship between Amida Buddha and sentient beings like us, because in the teaching of Buddha, foolish beings or ordinary beings can become a Buddha. So in terms of existence, Buddha and ordinary beings are one. That's the striking difference in concept between faith and Shinjin. So it's not appropriate for us to use faith as an English translation for the term Shinjin. Well, there are a lot of controversies in the academic world because in the English translation of all of Shinran's writings, a Japanese word, Shinjin, is left as it is. That might imply that the teaching of Jodo Shinshu can only be understood by Japanese people or those who understand Japanese language. But again, when we use faith as an English translation of Shinjin, that could lead to, that could mislead people in understanding the teaching of Jodo Shinshu. So that is, I'm closing my talk as we approach the end of year 2020. I do hope that you have a happy and prosperous New Year in Nembutsu. Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, is an expression of gratitude, according to Shinran. So stay safe, stay strong. I do hope that I can get together with you at the Tsukiji Hongwanji in person the next time I have a chance to talk to you at the English Buddha Dharma service. Thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it.